It was March the 3rd, 2017, when I found my love for Nintendo again. With the new release of our Master Sword swinging protagonist in the blue robe that does everything to save Zelda from the clutches of Ganondorf and thus free Hyrule from the devastation of him. But one thing that has interested me more and more after many hours of traveling through Hyrule and discovering every single secret of the different areas in this massive world. Why? Why was Link put into an artificial sleep for 100 years? Why was Zelda locked up in Hyrule Castle to lock up Ganon back then? And why did we have to collect 1000 Korok seeds to make a huge pile of shit? Okay, I digress. All these questions will now be finally clarified. Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity finally tells the prehistory of Breath of the Wild and gives us all the answers we could only pick out of the memory sequences and lore speculations. But even if the game looks like a prequel in the style of Breath of the Wild, we are dealing with a Warriors spin-off, as the title suggests. What does that mean? That means we can chop, bomb, shoot, conjure, and finally find out what's up with all the champions, Ganon, Zelda, and the devastation. Well, maybe you can see that these questions have been bugging me since then. But nevertheless, to give you the perfect start into the world of Hyrule Warriors, I will show you in the beginner's guide the best tips and tricks to fight your way through Hyrule and defeat Ganon, and then play Breath of the Wild to experience the rest of the story. If you want. Again. So, let's dive right in. Hi, my name's Kay and I'm an enthusiastic Nintendo lover, upcoming streamer, and hopeless second-class gaming world comedian. I publish all kind of tutorials for the world of Nintendo games, stream here on YouTube, and spice it up with more or less funny comedy skits. At least I try. But now let's get into the video. As mentioned in the beginning, this guide will help you to find your way around Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, and to master the finesse of the game, to solve all the unsolved incidents from the Breath of the Wild storyline. This video will definitely be a longer one. You can find the single steps in the description below as timestamps, but I recommend you to watch the video from beginning to end, because there will be some tips for veterans of the predecessor as well as for new people to Hyrule Warriors, which will help you on your journey. An example would be how you can trigger powerful combos with your additional abilities to destroy hordes of enemies in no time, but more about that down the line in the video. But before we start, I want to ask you the question of the day. Which character from Breath of the Wild are you most looking forward to play in Age of Calamity? Write it down in the comments, I'm curious who your favorites are. But now, we start with tip number 1, movement. The tip seems to be very trivial at first sight, but let me explain briefly. In contrast to Breath of the Wild, in Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, we can sprint permanently, surf a shield, when we play as Link for example, or use a glider without consuming any stamina. If you move the left stick slightly in one way, your character will start to move slowly in that direction. But as soon as you push the stick completely in that direction, he starts to run first, and after a short moment he makes a sprint with which you can move quickly through the map. But you can easily speed it up. As soon as you press B, you make a dash, and if you keep the key pressed, your character will sprint directly. This saves you a little bit of time and helps you to reach your destination faster. If you press B from the stand, your character will go directly into the sprint and storm off in the desired direction. In addition to that, you can hold down ZL and you start to strafe. This will lock your hero's movement and you can either move forward or backward or from left to right. This helps you to maneuver better through enemies and make more precise movements. By pressing the right analog stick, you can also focus on larger enemies and keep them in view. But more about this in the combat section. Of course, you can fight your way through in the old button smashing style, but the real power can be unleashed with powerful combos and special attacks. Each character has a completely individual moveset, which also differs in the weapons used. Most of the time, it's a sequence of multiple presses of Y or X, but these can be further divided into airborne combat and additional moves that you can trigger with additional items. One big tip here is to pause briefly with each new character and check the move list. At first sight, the combos may seem overwhelming and complicated to remember, but I'm sure you'll get the hang of it quickly. It's best to try out one combo after the other and try to repeat them several times successfully. This will give you a sense of how it will affect your opponents. For example, is it an AoE, that means area of effect attack around you, or a forward attack by storming towards the enemy? The great thing about this is that many skills are based off Breath of the Wild's abilities. Link, for example, has his bow as an additional ability by pressing ZR. And Impa can put symbols on enemies, and by defeating them with a strong attack, she can create clones of herself, which will support her in battle and spread her combos even more effectively. The whole thing is rounded off by powerful special attacks that you can trigger with the A button. These will help you to kill large groups of enemies quickly or to cause great damage to large enemies and bosses. Another aspect that brings even more depth to the game are the Shiekah Slate skills and the different elemental weapons. The abilities of the Shiekah Slate can be called with R and are the same as in Breath of the Wild. These are bombs, cryonis, stasis and magnesis. The bombs are very self-explanatory: throwing, blowing up, enjoying the exploding enemies. Stasis lets you freeze enemies for a short time, and by hitting them several times, you can load up your power, on which the enemies are thrown away depending on duration and the strength. Cryonis builds an ice pillar that freezes the enemies after contact, and magnesis lets you move metallic objects and catapults them onto the enemies. Sometimes, certain larger enemies use special abilities that can be interrupted with the Shiekah runes. In that case, you'll gain time to hit the enemy with multiple attacks and increase your chance of killing them. With the elemental weapons, which can be called up with L, you can, for example, freeze fire mobs and thus inflict more damage to them faster, or force Korok seeds out of the enemies standing in a small puddle of water and make them fall with one hit! Oh yes, Koroks are also available again. But that's for another video. You can combine all of these moves in a way that you can launch a constant stream of attacks on your opponent. Larger mobs have an additional break bar, which you can weaken with, for example, elemental combos so that you can destroy them faster to make a final strike on them. These powerful attacks can inflict a huge amount of damage on your opponent and knock him right off his socks. One last skill I want to mention is the evasive maneuver. Like in Breath of the Wild, you can dodge an enemy perfectly. This happens when you press the dash key just before an attack, which is B. And if you do it successfully, everything happens in slow motion. Here you can hit your opponent with a lot of shots to finally destroy him. I know, at first sight the whole thing seems quite complicated. But if you test yourself step by step through the combos, use the abilities of the Shiekah Slate and try to connect the respective attacks, you will find out very fast what the most effective tactics are for the respective hero. In Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, your heroes level up during battle and become stronger as a result. How does it all work? Very simple. Fight your way through the monster hordes, complete missions and enjoy yourself getting juicy experience points. Or so. Anyway, a high level of your character helps you to defeat stronger enemies more easily. Your character will gain strength and hearts as you move up the ranks. There are a few good ways to do this. First, get a weapon with plus experience. In the weapon's properties, you can see the respective additions, and with this small upgrade, you can speed up the collection of experience points a little bit. Additionally, it's recommended to complete the side missions. These will not only help you to collect additional materials, more about that later, but also to advance in the level. On the one hand, this happens in the battle itself, and on the other hand, you get a lot of experience points at the end of the mission. You have to know that neither the difficulty nor the speed counts, so you can set the game to easy and still get the same amount of experience points, which saves a lot of time. One more thing to keep in mind though, if you don't complete the mission, you won't get any experience. So if you don't have enough time to play it completely, it won't do you any good. Another essential step is to earn new combos and hearts for your characters. How does that work? On the map there are different points marked where you can unlock new abilities for the heroes in exchange for materials. For example, you can get a new combo with which you can do more damage or a heart so that you're more survivable in battle. But to do this you need materials. I know, I tease them again. Don't worry, I'll talk about them soon. I promise. But firstly, don't you think that's amazing what you can do in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity? Don't worry, there is much more to come. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing to my channel. It helps me to produce more videos and to offer you more valuable and funny content for you and your journey through the world of Nintendo games. Leave a like, hit the notification bell, and watch out for upcoming videos. I promise you, there will come many more and there will be more amazing content for you to watch. So, with that said, back to the video. Collect materials and unlock merchants. So, materials. Finally, for those of you who have already played Breath of the Wild, the collectibles will look familiar. From wood and mushrooms to fish and insects, the list of mats is huge. You can get them as loot in the levels, as a reward for missions, but you can also buy them at the appropriate merchants that you have to unlock first. Materials as loot are self-explanatory. Defeat enemies, they drop items and you collect them automatically. Attention! After bigger fights, there could be chests with good loot. You have to open them either by pressing the Y key or by hitting them with a good smack. Trophies of certain types of enemies drop the most, whereas items that strong and boss enemies carry are more exciting. You will find them much less often, but you will need them for the better upgrades. Therefore, I recommend to kill as many mobs as possible on the battlefield, so you can always fill up your storage and improve your characters through the game. Missions are also a good way to farm materials. On the one hand by the initial loot, on the other hand by the often fast completed missions with numerous enemies, which are often of the same type. So you can collect those items that you need for a certain character improvement, a merchant or a recipe. Yes, you can also cook here again. For this you need the recipes, the materials for them, and with them you can crack helpful boons before the battle so that the missions become easier and you become stronger, as a quick tip in between. The third option is to use the merchants. You have to unlock them first by collecting certain items and using them to unlock them. Then you can buy the items you need for your particular task. Of course, you have to collect rubies for this. You can get them in battle, as a reward for successful and quickly completed missions, and by selling unneeded items. More on a guide how to collect as many rubies as possible will come in an upcoming video. As you can see, the possibilities are numerous. Always check what is currently unlocked on your map, what items you need, and where you can get them. New combos, more hearts, and cooked dishes will increase your strength and survivability in battle. Fuse weapons. You'll have to unlock the blacksmith in order to upgrade your weapons first. His shop can be opened up by completing a very simple material turning quest, like many vendors. To access it, check your map in central Hyrule, to the east of Hyrule Castle. You can strengthen your weapons by using an existing weapon and fusing it with another one, providing them with bonus stats. You have to choose wisely which weapons you want to use for fusing, because this process destroys it entirely. Weapons will have a variety of secondary stats, known as seals, available on them. The secondary stats a weapon has on it are likely random, but it is possible to add additional secondary stats on their weapon via fusion. If you match the seals on two weapons, when fusing them, you can add various bonuses to it, such as improving its damage or even adding another effect to it. It is wise to collect lots of weapons with the same secondary seals on them. New seals are added onto weapons at 5 level intervals. Importantly, seals are only added at these milestone levels. This means that you should save up weapons with an ideal seal until you are able to reach a level with a multiple of 5 by fusing them. It is important to emphasize, only the seal of the first weapon you choose to fuse again, choose to fuse, my god. You choose to fuse will be added to your main weapon. This means that if you choose to smelt 5 weapons at once, you have to be careful which one you pick first. The effects of the other weapons will be lost. When you've selected a weapon to buff up, you'll see a list of all your currently owned weapons. However, you won't be able to see the text effect of each seal. All you see is the icon. This means that you have to be very careful that you've chosen the right weapon with the right seal. You want to know where you can get weapons? You can get them from the chest dropped by powerful enemies. There you find either a weapon or materials. On rare occasions, powerful enemies can drop white chests. Inside these, you can find weapons with an orange-tinted name. These orange-tinted weapons have slightly better stats and are guaranteed to have a seal. And as a last tip, the more you play a specific hero in a level, the more weapons will drop for him. That means if you play mostly with Zelda, while Link is untouched during the mission, you'll get more drops for her than for him. I wish you good luck and fun in the world of Hyrule, and if you liked the video and you want to learn more about Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity and other Nintendo games, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me to continue to provide you with great and valuable content, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video. If I forgot or missed something, or you have a special question, just write it down in the comments and I promise I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching and see you soon.